Between March 12 and March 15, 1993, the eastern half of the United States operated under standard late winter protocols. Commercial aviation maintained scheduled departures across hub networks from Atlanta to Boston. Highway freight systems moved perishable and industrial goods along I-95, I-75, and I-81 corridors. Electric utilities anticipated moderate demand consistent with seasonal norms. Coastal communities from the Florida Panhandle to Maine prepared for routine late-season weather variability. The National Weather Service monitored a low-pressure system forming over the Gulf of Mexico using conventional observational networks. Winter storm preparation in the eastern United States typically involved localized road treatment, temporary school closures, and utility crew standby. No framework existed for simultaneous continent-scale infrastructure shutdown driven by a single atmospheric system. The eastern United States in early March experiences transitional meteorology. Average temperatures range from 15 degrees F in northern New England to 65 degrees F along the Gulf Coast. Snowfall remains common above 40 degrees N latitude, but typically measures in single-digit inch accumulations per event. The region supports approximately 120 million residents distributed across coastal plains, Piedmont zones, and the Appalachian mountain chain. Transportation infrastructure includes 14 major aviation hubs processing 2.1 million passengers daily, interstate highway networks carrying 180,000 freight vehicles per day, and commuter rail systems serving 4.2 million riders in metropolitan corridors. Electric generation and distribution networks operate independently by region, with limited interconnection capacity. Coal-fired plants provide base load, supplemented by nuclear facilities and natural gas peaking units. Overhead transmission lines traverse rural and mountain terrain with minimal redundancy. Population density in the I-95 corridor exceeds 1,000 persons per square mile. Suburban expansion has separated residential areas from employment centers by 15 to 40 miles, creating automobile dependence. Winter weather protocols assume 6 to 12-hour disruption windows with localized impact. Emergency management frameworks do not contemplate simultaneous paralysis of aviation, surface transport, and power systems across 26 states. On March 11, 1993, surface observations detected a weak low-pressure center forming over the central Gulf of Mexico. Sea surface temperatures measured 72 degrees F, providing moisture flux into the lower atmosphere. A jet stream trough positioned over the southern plains generated upper-level divergence, creating favorable conditions for rapid cyclogenesis. By 600 UTC March 12, central pressure had fallen to 998 millibars. The system moved northeast at 28 miles per hour, drawing Gulf moisture northward, while interacting with cold continental air mass positioned across the Ohio Valley. At 1200 UTC March 12, the low crossed the Florida Panhandle with central pressure of 987 millibars, producing sustained winds of 60 miles per hour along coastal sections. The cyclone continued to deepen as it moved into Georgia and South Carolina. Upper-level jet dynamics intensified, with wind speeds at 250 millibars exceeding 180 knots. By 0 UTC March 13, central pressure had dropped to 960 millibars, a rate of intensification comparable to Category 3 hurricanes. The storm's thermal structure combined tropical moisture inflow with mid-latitude baroclinic forcing, creating a hybrid system. The cyclone's track positioned the Appalachian mountain range directly in the path of maximum moisture convergence and orographic lift, amplifying precipitation rates across elevations between 2,000 and 6,000 feet. Snow began falling across the Florida Panhandle at 1800 UTC March 12, the first measurable accumulation in that region since 1899. By 0 UTC March 13, snowfall rates exceeded 2 inches per hour across northern Georgia, with thundersnow reported in Atlanta. The precipitation shield expanded to cover 850,000 square miles by 600 UTC March 13. Snowfall totals in the Appalachian region reached 36 to 56 inches across elevations above 3,000 feet. Mount LeConte, Tennessee, recorded 60 inches. Syracuse, New York, measured 43 inches. Birmingham, Alabama, accumulated 13 inches, paralyzing a city with minimal snow removal equipment. Wind speeds exceeded hurricane force across coastal zones. Dry Tortugas, Florida, recorded sustained winds of 109 miles per hour. Flattop Mountain, North Carolina, measured gusts to 101 miles per hour. The combination of snowfall exceeding 6 inches and sustained winds above 35 miles per hour met blizzard criteria across a 200,000 square mile area, the largest blizzard footprint in U.S. meteorological records. Snowfall rates of 3 to 4 inches per hour overwhelmed mechanical clearing capacity. Visibility dropped below 1/4 mile across the entire mid-Atlantic and Northeast regions for durations exceeding 18 hours. Temperature gradients remained sharp, with freezing rain and ice accumulation occurring along a narrow band from eastern Tennessee through western Virginia, adding structural loading to the snow burden. U.S. aviation operations ceased at 1400 UTC March 13. Every major airport from Atlanta to Boston suspended departures and arrivals. Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, processing 2,100 flights daily, reported zero movements for 36 consecutive hours. Over 4,000 flights were canceled across the national airspace system between March 12 and March 15, stranding approximately 350,000 passengers. Interstate highway systems became impassable across 16 states. I-95 closures extended from Richmond, Virginia, to Portland, Maine, a distance of 650 miles. I-81 shut down completely from Bristol, Tennessee, to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. State police across the Mid-Atlantic region logged 14,200 motorist assist calls in 48 hours, exceeding response capacity. Abandoned vehicles blocked travel lanes, preventing snowplow deployment. Pennsylvania Turnpike authorities closed all 359 miles of the main line for the first time in the facility's 53-year history. Amtrak suspended Northeast Corridor service between Washington and Boston, canceling 186 trains and affecting 78,000 passengers. Freight rail operations halted across CSX and Norfolk Southern networks, stopping coal deliveries to power plants and intermodal container movements to ports. The Port of New York and New Jersey suspended container operations for 60 hours. Coastal storm surge reached 12 feet above mean high water in Florida's Taylor County, submerging roads and rail beds under saltwater. Electric transmission failures began at 300 UTC March 13, as ice accumulation and wind loading exceeded structural limits. Appalachian Power reported 1,100 transmission structure failures across West Virginia and Virginia. Duke Energy recorded outages affecting 480,000 customers in the Carolinas. By 1200 UTC March 14, total customer outages reached 10 million across the eastern United States, the largest winter storm power disruption to that date. Overhead distribution lines collapsed under snow and ice loads exceeding design specifications. Utility access roads became impassable, preventing repair crews from reaching damaged infrastructure. Temperatures in the teens and 20s increased heating load demand precisely as generation capacity declined. 4 coal-fired plants in the Tennessee Valley Authority system went offline due to frozen coal handling equipment and depleted fuel supplies when rail deliveries stopped. Communication systems dependent on commercial power experienced cascading failures. Telephone switches serving rural Appalachia lost backup generator fuel after 72 hours, severing landline connectivity. Cellular networks, limited in 1993 deployment, provided no redundancy. Emergency management agencies lost contact with municipal governments across mountain counties in 6 states. Hospitals transitioned to generator power, rationing fuel for critical life support and refrigeration systems. Restoration timelines extended beyond 1 week in mountain terrain, where utility crews required bulldozers to create access paths through 40-inch snow depths before reaching damaged transmission towers. Approximately 40 million people experienced direct immobilization from the storm. Metropolitan areas including Atlanta, Charlotte, Pittsburgh, and Syracuse reported complete cessation of surface transportation for periods exceeding 48 hours. Suburban residents found themselves isolated in homes located 20 to 40 miles from employment and medical facilities, with no operational transport options. Supermarkets in affected regions experienced supply interruption as truck deliveries ceased. Insulin-dependent diabetics and dialysis patients faced medication and treatment access challenges when ambulance services became unavailable. The storm caused 318 confirmed fatalities across 13 states. Causes of death included exposure hypothermia, 48 cases, carbon monoxide poisoning from improper generator or heating use, 37 cases, roof collapse under snow loading, 22 cases, and coastal drowning from storm surge, 19 cases. Traffic accidents on ice-covered roads before full closure killed 41. Cardiac events during snow removal activities accounted for 63 deaths. Cuba recorded 10 drowning deaths from 10-foot storm surge preceding the system's northward movement. Total economic impact exceeded $6.6 billion in 1993 dollars, including infrastructure damage, lost productivity, and emergency response costs. The duration of total paralysis ranged from 36 hours in the mid-Atlantic coastal plain to 8 days in isolated Appalachian communities above 4,000 feet elevation. National Guard deployments reached 6,200 personnel across 7 states to deliver food, medicine, and emergency fuel supplies using tracked vehicles and helicopters. Electric power restoration required 14 days to reach 98% of affected customers. Utility companies documented 18,600 down transmission and distribution structures requiring replacement. Highway clearance in mountain areas continued through March 22, with some secondary roads remaining impassable until April. The National Weather Service classified the event as the storm of the century, acknowledging its spatial extent, intensity, and multi-hazard characteristics. Meteorological analysis identified the system as a bomb cyclone, defined by pressure drops exceeding 24 millibars in 24 hours, which this storm surpassed by deepening 28 millibars in the same period. The storm produced the widest blizzard coverage, the southernmost significant snowfall in Florida, and the lowest non-tropical barometric pressure ever recorded in several mid-Atlantic states. Federal disaster declarations covered areas in 11 states. FEMA coordinated assistance to 127,000 households for temporary housing, home repair, and infrastructure replacement. Post-event assessments by the National Research Council documented infrastructure vulnerabilities, overhead transmission, line susceptibility to ice and wind, insufficient highway emergency equipment capacity in southern states, and absence of regional coordination protocols for simultaneous system failures. The event demonstrated that a single winter storm could generate continental-scale paralysis, exceeding the impact geography of individual hurricanes, though with lower fatality rates due to advance warning. Meteorological records from the storm provided data sets used in subsequent severe weather forecasting, model development, and emergency management multi-hazard planning frameworks.